Are we really interested in having a conversation about HIV and disclosure? Or are we only interested in furthering HIV stigma? Let's talk about it. Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on. So what's going on, y'all? This has been a long time coming, child. I wanted to record this video probably like a year ago when it first initially happened, and something I said on Twitter was taken out of context, all of that, but I never did engage in it. And I think I'm ready now to engage in that conversation because my language is better and I'm better able to articulate my thoughts of how I feel about the onus solely being placed on someone living with HIV to constantly disclose. Now, I'm interested in having a conversation. So before you even get into it and spit your stuff, if we are really interested in combating HIV, we also have to be combating HIV stigma. So that means listening to people with HIV. You cannot see the forest because of the trees. You cannot see how to combat HIV stigma because you're too busy looking at HIV. When I say that, that means that you automatically are repelled and disgusted by it automatically. That you think that a person who is living with HIV should like be locked up. And we see for not disclosing, and we see how not helpful that is. We see how the justice system mistreats and like completely destroys black and brown folks. So we have to really interrogate this idea of disclosure, like it's solely should be placed on the person living with HIV and making the person living with HIV this boogeyman that is out here positive and not taking meds and not telling all their sexual partners. When you actually look at the CDC and you actually look at the research that's being given, that the folks who are transmitting HIV, the virus, are people who do not know that they are positive. I don't know the exact, I think it's 1 out of 4, or 1 out, what is it? I forgot what it is. But so many folks are walking around and they do not know that they're positive. They don't know because they're not getting tested. And why are they not getting tested? For a lot of reasons. Maybe they don't have the resources where they are. But a lot of it is HIV stigma. No one wants to test positive. Look at social media right now when people, post the pictures of them getting tested and they got a negative test result. How often do you see someone who tested positive and who said, oh girl, I tested positive, congratulations to me? There is none of that. But what we should be focusing on is everyone is getting tested, and no matter if you are negative or positive, you are getting to care. So that means if you are negative, that means that you're going to stay negative. That means if you become positive, that means that we're getting you in treatment, we're getting you in the right stuff, we're getting you the resources and the stuff that you need to live a long, healthy life. That's what we should be thinking about. That's the conversation that I'm interested in having. I'm honestly okay. It really affected me mentally Saturday. I'm not even going to hold you. I'm going to be completely transparent and honest. It really got to me because I feel like I'm always fighting HIV stigma all the time. I'm fighting it online. I'm fighting it when I go to the doctor. I'm dealing with a lot. It's just oh my gosh. And to see folks who are in my community just not engaging in these conversations with any type of care and then put it as if, oh, this is a conversation. No, it's not. You're furthering stigma. This is scare content. I don't know why people seem to think that them posting a video about HIV disclosure and just railing on them is content when it's this is not content, sis. This is clickbait stuff. People use HIV clickbait all the time. Look on YouTube. I promise you there's a lot of folks who do that. But let's get into the video at hand. In the video, I had talked about that it's not a person living with HIV job to disclose. And folks were, oh my gosh, that means you're not disclosing. But in the video, because the actual video, the live stream that I did is 10 to 12 minutes long, and I explain in detail why it should not be the person who is living with HIV and disclose. I don't want to automatically come into every conversation and just be the first one bringing it up. I get tired of that. I got tired of it. I'm extremely tired of being the one to be the first one to have the conversation. The first one to have the conversation each and every time. which tells me that it really does not matter until you are positive, which is kind of backwards, because you should be asking that every time. And then when we look at research, we look at the data, it is people who are assuming they are negative that are transmitting the virus, because sis will tell you, oh girl, I'm negative. She got tested back in November. It's been December, January, February, about to be March next Monday. And she's going off a test that she got 90 days ago. So it's just like, what good is that when, you know, you've had sex, you probably have engaged in condomless sex since that negative test result. So it's not like that test expires in 60 days. That test only tells you the detail at that time frame. What we should be doing is getting tested regularly, like depending on how sexually active you are. You can't go off of, oh, I got tested in November, and assume that everybody that you engaged in sex with has been negative. Like, you just can't assume that. And if you look at even more research, I'm gonna really blow your mind, it's actually less likely for you to contract HIV with having sex with or engaging in sexual activity with somebody who is HIV positive and on medication. So while we out here trying to make like people living with HIV the boogeymen and the boogie folks, and out here doing all this, doing Thriller everywhere, in actuality it's the stigma that's causing it. Because one, stigma is creating this energy against folks from getting tested. Nobody wants to get tested. When I remember the first time I got tested, I was terrified. Terrified. I was sitting in the room, I never forget, it was in Memphis. It was just, I got that phone call. I'm sure some of us have experienced it. It was just like, oh, such and such has tested positive for this and that, and it will behoove you to come on down to Tennessee or Memphis Health Department, so we can Shelby County Health Department and see what is given. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like at that time I was like in the military. I was like gone for like 6-7 months or something. I was like, girl, why am I even being called on here? But somebody had tested positive who named me as a sexual partner, and I had to go down and get tested. So it's even terrifying in that experience, because it's just already this blame being placed on me, like I'm this thing that's out here infecting everybody. Like I'm out here like I'm infecting everybody, and like sitting in this room and waiting on this person to give me this results, and I'm not even being told like, hey, two things might happen today. You might test positive and you might test negative. But either way, we're going to keep you in treatment. Either way, we're going to keep you on the right path to make sure that you are good with your sexual health and you are living a long, healthy life. That should have been the one thing. Like, either way, if you test positive, negative, just think about that. Just think about that. And as black folks, as black and brown folks who are already living in underserved communities and are facing so many things, it's not doing us no justice to be out here engaging in stigmatizing rhetoric. It's not doing us any favors. You sharing a video and ragging on me and assuming that, like, without even knowing me, that I'm out here engaging in sex and not telling anybody, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy that you automatically assuming that. Even if I said that in the video, like, you just automatically assume that. Because even if I did not say that, you will assume that anyway, because you're already placing that stigma on me. That I am this nasty person that is out here not having a conversation, not disclosing that I'm in here dying with HIV and out here infecting everybody. That's how we look at it. The big bad boogeyman that is out here not doing that. When in actuality, when I first tested positive, I didn't even touch myself for almost 2 months. I was not attracted to my own body. I didn't like the way it was nothing about me had changed physically, but I felt disgusted with myself. I felt like I had failed. I felt like I had failed. I felt like, this is what it is, like, girl, like, I'm disgusted. Nobody will ever, like, want to be around me. Nobody will ever want to be anything. I didn't even see myself. So for a while, I didn't engage in any sexual activity. And even when I started to, the conversation around disclosure was always met with some type of resistance. I remember dating this guy, and he had told me, oh, everything is just so perfect about you. I just love everything about you. And then we were like talking on the phone. We never met in person. And I was like, I know that it's time for me to disclose this, and the moment I do, I wonder how they're gonna look at me. Like, I'm still this good guy. But I knew deep down that the stigma was so strong, like, it doesn't matter how good of a person I am, all that, like, I'm still positive at the end of the day. And, you know, when I told them, they was okay with it. And then later on, they said they couldn't do it. I've been in other situations where I've disclosed and engaged in sex with this person, said person, and then a couple of days later, folks talking about they coughing and they ain't feeling good. And I'm just like, that's not even how it works. Like just because you, like, even if you did come in contact with somebody who is positive and might have contracted HIV from them, you're not gonna start coughing tomorrow. Like, but where is that coming from? Because it's not appearing out of thin air. Stigma. All of these things that we've been fed, all these things that we've seen, we remember the conversations in school. We remember, like, the AIDS jokes. We remember all those things. Like, I remember them. So it's just like, to combat stigma, we have to start, to combat HIV, we have got to work on combating stigma. It is really hurting us. Like, it's really hurting us. So I can take them jokes, I can take them drags, I can take all of that Saturday. As long as I know when I get in front of this camera and I start talking about my life, and I'm able to encourage folks who are living with HIV, because I have received so many messages from people who've been watching me, who have found out they were positive after I recorded the video, or who were positive and saw my video and was just like, wow, you're bold. Like, so many people, so many black queer men, so many black gay men, black non-binary folks who've had conversations with me and said, I'm living with HIV too, and I appreciate you for coming and telling me. Like, if I'm able to change one person's perspective of HIV, I'm okay with all of this shit. But I just want to let you all know that if we don't start combating this stigma, we're not going to do anything. Like, just posting a video and ragging on somebody and making it just like a short clip that came literally from two heterosexual men who wanted to have a conversation about something that they feel is disgusting in front of an audience that does not have the language. I'm not gonna say ignorant and dumb, just like don't have the language to be able to have a conversation. Like, people know that. People like throw them red meat. And that's all that was, just throw them red meat. Oh girl, they gonna eat this up. All you gotta do is put HIV, person not disclosed, that's everything. It's already enough HIV positive. Look at the stories that we see. Look at the stories that we see when we watch the news. Oh, they was out here doing, and they was positive. So it's just like, you shouldn't have been, oh, you were positive. We was already not here for what you was doing, but you positive too. You got the nerve to be out here doing it and positive. Like, look at how we engage with that. Look at how we engage. Look at how folks were able to take that short clip and spin this narrative as if Justin, aka the King of Reeds, is out here engaging in sex and not disclosing that they're positive. Look how that looked. Look how that looked. So I appreciate the people who watch me and support me and engage with my content for not sending me that video, not telling me that, because it is traumatizing and it is extremely triggering. For those who did send me the message, I want you to stop. Like, I want you to stop. I can't fight all of these battles. I promise you, if you've seen the video, I probably have already seen it 100 times. So I'm asking you to respect me and my mental health. That I cannot be out here, jumping off, the cliff for something that is not going to really mean anything. That person was never, Khalil was never, the person who posted that video on Instagram and posted it on TikTok or whatever, was never interested in engaging in a dialogue about HIV disclosure and HIV, period. It was all about getting clicks. It was all about, trust me, as a content creator, I know the things that people do to be able to get views and get clicks. So it doesn't surprise me that the video was posted. It doesn't. But it's just like, in this moment, is this beneficial? How am I helping? How am I helping? Is this helping anything? Is this helping anything? It's not. So to reiterate, the sole responsibility of disclosure should not be left to people who are living with HIV. It should not. I shouldn't have to tell you that I'm positive. And to be honest, let's go a little deeper, because y'all like it deep. I'm going to give you to your 9-inch deep. A lot of times folks not even asking, period. A lot of times folks don't even like to use condoms. Like, let's just be honest. There's a lot of shit out here that folks don't like to talk about, but they're doing. Y'all ass don't like to use condoms, and that's okay. You shouldn't be shamed for it. You should not be shamed. Don't let nobody shame you for not using condoms. That's okay. And if you are engaging in said sex with someone and you're not asking, you have to be responsible for your own sexual health, sis. You have to. Like, we know folks out here lie. We know folks lie. Like, for my black folks, we know niggas lie all the time. Niggas be having whole relationships and be lying about those. Be saying that the folks who they live with is their roommate. And that doesn't mean that you should feel like, oh my God, I gotta use a condom every time. If you don't have to. But just know that I am responsible. That if I go into this situation and I'm engaging in condomless sex with this person, I am responsible for everything that happens afterwards. Same thing with the language of who gave me HIV, because people have asked me that so many times. Nobody gave me HIV, child. Nobody gave me anything, sis. I contracted a virus that I am maintaining every day when I take my medicine. Every day I go to the doctor every 6 months and get my blood tested. Nobody gave me anything, because when I engaged in consensual sex with my sexual partners, I knew what risk I was taking. Now I'm gonna tell you something. It took me a minute to get here. I ain't always had this politics, sis, but I understand the need for this politics. I understand the need of not placing the blame on this person who was positive, because I guarantee you the person didn't even know that they were positive. I guarantee you they didn't even know they were positive. And I can't be out here being mad at them. I need to be mad at the system that is creating this. It took me a minute to get here, but I understand deep down in the inside how important it is to change the language when I am talking and engaging and stuff like that. That's why you hear me say stuff like living with HIV instead of I have HIV. Language matters. I'm not interested in placing blame on someone who I had consensual sex with, who I may or may not have condomless sex with. I'm not interested in that, because at the end of the day, that's not gonna get me anywhere. I have to take responsibility, and that's what I'm asking everybody, to take responsibility in your own sexual health. So it means that you ain't waiting on nobody to tell you that they positive, or they ain't had no HIV test or no STI test in 2 years. Because some people seem to think that just because folks say they negative, even if they haven't tested positive. And what does that actually mean when someone says, I am negative? If they ain't been tested in 6 months or whatever, what does that mean? When we can look at, like I said earlier, research is telling us that a lot of folks who are out here saying they're negative don't know that they're positive. So in actuality, them are the ones that are lying to you. And you trying to put me, the person living with HIV, solely responsible for everything everybody else is, like people who are negative out here assuming. Come on now. Come on, sis. I know it's a lie. But if I have to break it down, I'll keep breaking it down and having a conversation. But that's all I got. I know we've talked about this for like 18, 20 minutes, but this is very important to me. I hope people are watching this. I hope people are engaging in this conversation with care and with grace, because it is extremely important. So I appreciate you all so much. If you have any comments, I might engage and do a panel discussion with some doctors and some other folks who work in the HIV field, so we can really have a deep dive and discussion, a true discussion about HIV disclosure and everything else when it comes to risk and all this, because we have got to do a better job than just posting short clips for reactions, because at the end of the day, it's only hurting people that look like us. That's all I got for y'all. Until next time, I'll talk y'all later tonight. Bye.